What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. We are now over a full day into the Beckett announcement, and people are not happy.
I felt a great disturbance in the force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. I fear something terrible has happened.
The hobby has voiced its displeasure loudly, and the question is, what should Beckett do now? Do they backpedal or push forward? Some hybrid approach, scrap the whole thing altogether? Like what are their options here? Clearly how this came down yesterday was not originally how it was planned. We could clearly see here, this is on Card Porn's account. This was the image originally shared on Twitter. True Gems were supposed to be part of the Gem Mint 10. And then we can see over here, after the announcement, they put a little sticker over it that has a number 10 on it to update it with their new must have a 10 subgrade to be a Gem Mint 9.5. The feedback has been overwhelmingly negative, at least from what I have heard and seen. DMs, tweets, text messages that I have seen from around people that I follow, and also just industry people, non-industry people, collectors, whatever, all kind of asking the same question. What are they doing? And we touched on this in the video yesterday. I think the intention was good. I think the execution was poor in terms of not realizing the full ramifications of what this change was going to do. I understand, and I agree, getting rid of or getting off of 9.5 as your primary grade. I do believe that is 100% a problem for them. It has been a problem for them. As we discussed yesterday, if you're going to do this, whatever was Gem Mint before still has to be Gem Mint now. The subgrades be damned. The math on the subgrades doesn't matter. It's their standards. They could do whatever the hell they want with it. 9.5, always equal to Gem Mint. A Min Gem met the Gem Mint requirements. It doesn't matter that you don't have a 10 in the subgrade or not. That doesn't really make a difference in the grand scheme of things. I have seen very few comments or feedback that are actually on board with this, that are like, oh yeah, this is great. This is cool. Awesome, Beckett. Let's do this. Unless you're like the 0.2% that has a bunch of BGS black labels laying around, or the 2.5% that have a bunch of pristine 10s in your collection. And I don't even know how happy the pristine 10 people probably are. So, other than the announcement, nothing has actually happened yet. Cards haven't been relabeled. Things haven't been reslabbed. There is an opportunity for them to walk this back. Now, would people accept that with open arms? Would they feel, that they got put through the ringer over the last 24 to 48 hours over a bunch of nothing? I am curious to hear down below, if you are in favor of this, why? If you think, hey, they did the right thing here, stick to it, let's rock, feel free to shoot that off, because I've seen very little of that communication to this point. At this point, I don't think you could fully walk this back. I don't think you could go back and just, put the toothpaste back in the tube and say, okay, cool, nothing really is changing. We're just sticking with the status quo. Pretend it's Thursday again. Everything's the same. I don't think that could happen. I think they have to go forward with the Gem Mint 10 grade. You've kind of let the cat out of the bag on that one. At a minimum, they have to keep that going forward. I think the one opportunity that they could go is say, hey, we listen to your feedback. There's basically two paths that they need to choose to take. You either have to include True Gems at minimum, and ideally, like I said, I talked about it yesterday, anything that was a Gem Mint before should still be a Gem Mint. When you look at the data, you can't just take 85% of people's cards and say those aren't Gem Mint anymore. And I get the arguments. People are saying, well, the market kind of already dictated that those cards sell for, a little bit less than a True Gem or a True Gem Plus or a True Gem Plus Plus. Whatever. That we were doing that before when they were all labeled 9.5. What's the difference if they're all labeled 10 now? Other than the fact that you're now in with the industry standard of having a Gem Mint 10 overall grade. Get rid of the 9.5 altogether. I said it yesterday. I'm going to keep saying it until it sinks in with someone. So path 1 is stick to your guns. Path 2 is walk this thing back, and then there's kind of 2 versions of path 2. One, you do what I just said. Everything that was a Gem Mint on Thursday is still a Gem Mint on Saturday. It just gets relabeled as a 10 instead of a 9.5. It's easy, it's simple, it's quick. The in-between path is go back to what you originally proposed that got leaked on Friday. And, leak's a strong term. It was a poster on your booth. That was on your booth on Friday where True Gems were included. Now, that still trashes a large portion of your population report. You'd be looking at roughly 70% going by the wayside instead of 85%. But really, the True Gem people here are the ones that got bent over the hardest, in my opinion. True Gems were pretty well respected around the industry, and now you're saying that they're Mint Pluses. I think at minimum they have to roll back to what this was originally supposed to be, or at least what it looks like it was originally supposed to be. But in all reality, I think they just need to rip the Band-Aid and say everything that was Gem Mint is still Gem Mint and it's a 10. Everything else be damned. The 2.5% of pristine people, they could figure it out. It's not that much of an impact. You still have a pristine card. They can redesign you a fancy little label to make the pristine 10 look more different than the Gem Mint 10. And the black label is still the black label for you 0.2%ers out there. The real question is, though, if they walked it back, if they came around and they either rolled out what I did or, some in between or whatever, will people still accept them? Have they burned the bridge now? Have they broken the trust of their customers and their customer base? That's what I'm curious to hear from you all down below. I ran a poll on the old community tab on the YouTube asking if they did back this up and kind of reverted back or, some hybrid or whatever, would you still trust them? 170 voters to this point, 71% voted no. They would no longer trust Beckett, even if they reversed course. That's the problem here. You broke the trust that you had with your customers. You told them for 20 years that their card was a Gem Mint card, and then all of a sudden you decided that it wasn't. I think what's happening here, a lot of people are questioning, like, how the hell does this all happen? How does this go down? I think what's really going on here, there's 2 Becketts inside of Beckett as a company. There's the old school and there's the new school. I think the new school wants to make more radical changes. I think the old school is holding them up. You're the ones that didn't do anything with the company during the pandemic, didn't have any communication, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, didn't communicate anything, didn't get out in front of anything, just kind of sat there and toiled and let the company sink from arguably the number 1 grading company to arguably the number 3 grading company because you did absolutely nothing. The old ways worked 10 years ago. I don't know that they still work in today's market. Clearly, they haven't worked over the last 3 or 4 years or so. You continue to backslide, you continue to lose market share. So, would you be shocked if Monday morning they come out and said, hey, we heard you. We get it. The feedback on this has not been great. Our bad. Let's sit down and figure this out. Do they have a little mea culpa moment where they, come to the table and say, we'll own this one. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out how to make this better. I think at minimum, I think they have to take it on the chin on this one. And I don't want to say walk it back, but come arms open and say, hey, we want to make shifts here. We want to make changes and involve our paying customers in the process for it. And when you get that feedback, you have to take that feedback and actually listen to it, which I think is part of the problem. So we will see what happens. The initial response has been poor, to say the least. We will see what the beginning of the week brings, or maybe even this weekend, if they decide to shift backwards or go down a new path. That's all I have for you, boys and girls. We will catch you tomorrow for the weekly market update. Peace.